I'm going to call this September 3rd, if you can believe it, meeting of the Concord Select Board to order. So the first item on our agenda is changes in the TIP agreement. Before we get to it, so we'll discuss that, and hopefully there'll be a motion to either approve or disapprove the changes to the TIP as represented by council. And when we get to that, I will remind you that after I distributed this document and a clean one, that Linda found a small typo in it, which was an apostrophe after the word parties on page 2. So when we get to that, if we're going to move to accept it, we'll include that change. Then after we've dealt with that, I will propose that there be a motion for us to reconsider the select board's position on Article 16. We'll talk about that and vote. And if that motion is approved, then we will move to a discussion of our position on that article. So, any questions about kind of how this is going to unfold? Don't see anybody. Okay, then the first item in this process is a motion to adopt the changes in the marked up version of the TIP agreement as presented and reviewed by council, and with the addition of the removal of the apostrophe on page 2 of the copy. And I will note, because it was part of our discussion last time, that the language that was in the MOU about further financial assistance wasn't.
You want to hear the link? If you want to know over there, I'll get off.
Andy, you need to mute yourself. Can you do that? Thank you. In that, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. So we're going to consider the marked up version. I'm sorry, it was including the language of the MOA in that TIF agreement. So that was included verbatim, I believe, as council presented. So open to, firstly, can we get a motion? Linda, I can see your name, but not you, but I would like to get a motion on the floor to adopt changes in the marked up version submitted with the council's input and the removal of the apostrophe on parties on page 2.
I can, Linda, are you?
Can you do that?
Sorry, Linda is Linda Miller.
Oh,
I apologize.
That's no problem. Sorry, Linda. Nice to hear from you.
Huh.
So,
Mike, before we have a motion, I just want to, I have a comment and a question, or do you want to get the motion first and then have discussion?
well, if the comment or question is about approving the changes, then
Yes.
I put a motion on the table. But first, Terry, could I ask if you have your computer up, if you could, or give me a moment to send Linda a note? I'll do that, I guess. I'd certainly like to get her here with that. But so let's, Jane, can you help us out with a motion on that?
It's, I'm making a motion to open the discussion.
Oh.
No, to
Motion to
move to approve the changes to the TIF reflecting town council's edits, as well as one additional edit by Linda Escobedo, an apostrophe on page 2.
Yes. Is there a second?
Can I second for the purposes of discussion?
Second for any reason you want.
That's what
Okay.
I'm doing.
So second for the purposes of discussion. Great.
Yep.
And And then Jane, with Linda not here, could you call the roll?
Call the roll. Terry Ackerman.
I'm just a little confused. So,
This is for the motion to open the discussion.
Hold on. So we have a motion on the floor and it's been seconded. So now are there comments or questions? Ms. Ackerman?
oh, okay, great. So, I'm very glad that town council has reviewed this and put in good edits and put in the language that I wanted in item A5. That was great. And I have a question. I think the wording right now is okay. I'm okay with it, but is it necessary for the select board to vote to approve every single word of the TIF now before town meeting has even adopted it? Because what I thought was the warrant article states the town will consider whether to adopt a TIF, quote, substantially in the form available at the town clerk's office. So for example, this apostrophe that Linda found, we might find another one next week, or some new information could come to light during town meeting, something else could change. And I think that what we're really voting is to approve, to recommend to town meeting a TIF substantially in the form of this language. And I don't see any changes right this second, but I just don't understand why we have to approve every apostrophe right now, because something could still change that we don't know about. Something minor. It has to be substantially in the form. So that's my question.
Well, okay, I understand that. My response to that is this TIF and this language is substantially different than the TIF we previously approved. And I want to make sure that there is a single TIF that is before the town.
Why wouldn't,
So we don't get into a debate about, well, is it this TIF or is it that TIF or what TIF is it? So approving the language of the TIF is quite different than approving the warrant article. All we're trying to do with this motion is to get a clean, single version of this TIF agreement so that it can be presented to the town. I tried to get this done on Monday, and the reason I was fairly insistent on that is that, although it didn't work out, was that we have this town meeting material that has to be sent to the printer, and we're under very strict deadlines for that. So we contacted the printer to hold off until after the end of the select board meeting so that we will know which version of the TIF is going to be included in that town meeting material. So approval of this language, I mean, you should vote to approve it if you think it's good language, but voting to approve it is not the same thing as voting to support Article 16. It is simply to create a single document so that there's no confusion about what the TIF is. If we find a change in the, you know, an apostrophe or a word, something like that, that's minor, the select board has the authority to sort of do that. So that's my 2 cents.
Great. So does that mean the motion should be that we vote to approve the TIF substantially in the form that we see it here, presented here in this packet?
That's
Great.
correct. All right, is there any other? Susan?
I actually found another typo in the new paragraph A5, where it says Christopher Heights has an extra E on the end.
The top are, Susan, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm on page 2, item A5, the language from the memorandum of agreement that we need to include in there. It's just that on the second line, Christopher Heights is just spelling.
Thank you.
The other question I had was, I noticed that added well, the item number 4 is quite clear about when the $2 million exemption has been granted, that company's not entitled to any further exemption, even if the term hasn't expired. That's very clear. And so is paragraph 5, except at the very end, it says further, and I'm glad Mina's here because I think it's a question for Mina. Further, the town exemption shall not be increased without approval of both the select board and the town meeting. To me, that kind of is opposite of what the rest of the paragraph says, but I'm sure there's some legal reason that it's in there.
Mina,
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I could. So those are two separate pieces. Susan, there was a desire to include the exemption itself and have that be clear in the document. That's what the 2 million cap does. There was a second request, I think, that may have been the last thing added here, frankly, that was that the developer, in this case, has made a commitment or has made a representation that they do not intend to ask for any further financial assistance in the future. And there was a desire to cap, and I think that's in the MOA, the separate MOA. There's a desire to capture that here. In order to capture that here, I wanted to make it clear that, when you really, I guess it's almost impossible to tell somebody you can never ask again, because unless, if they do ask, they have just asked again. And so it is to memorialize that they had committed to not ask again, and to make it clear to town meeting that if they do ask, if they go back on that commitment, and there's a different set of board members who kind of didn't know about the commitment or didn't want to abide by that commitment, that town meeting would become aware of that broken promise, so to speak. Now, there may be very different circumstances, there may be reasons that the town decides we ought to honor that request and actually grant it, but it sort of adds a layer on there, and it avoids a doubt later about who gets to say yes to that unexpected ask later.
further protection for the town.
Yes, thank you very much. That satisfies my question.
Thank you. Jane, did you have a question or comment? You're muted, so I can't hear you.
It was the same question. Thank you, Mina.
All right, any further questions? Seeing none, Jane, would you be good enough to call the roll?
Okay. Let's see. Terry Ackerman,
What is the exact motion again? I think I know.
well, I think you amended it, Terry, right?
Yeah. Motion is to adopt changes in the marked up version with council's input and to correct now 2 typos. One, the removal of an apostrophe, the word parties on page 2, and to remove an extra E in Christopher Heights on the same page.
Right.
So the motion is going back to exact wording again, then it's not going to be that we approve this document in substantial form to bring to town meeting.
Well, this will be the document that
Yeah,
is
this is,
the town that when they're trying to decide to give the select board the authority to execute a TIF. This is the TIF that there'll be.
this,
Right. In substantial form is this.
But that's the way the warrant reads.
Right. Okay. I vote yes then.
Susan Bates,
Aye.
Linda Escobedo,
Aye.
Mike Lawson.
Aye.
Myself, Jane Hotchkiss, aye.
All right, I note for the record that it passes unanimously. So the next order of business is a motion to reconsider the select board's position on Article 16. This is motion simply generated by the fact that the TIF that we voted on a couple of meetings ago is now, I would claim, substantially changed. I think we should ask again what our position on this is. So I would entertain a motion to reconsider the select board's position on Article 16.
So moved.
Thank you. For a second,
Second,
would the clerk please call the roll?
Okay. Mr. Lawson,
Aye.
Ms. Ackerman,
Aye.
Ms. Bates.
Can't hear you, Susan.
You can. No.
Okay. And that leaves myself, Ms. Escobedo. Aye.
Right, thank you. I note that it passes 4 in favor and 1 opposed. All right, so reconsider. So I'm happy to hear anybody or in any order that you'd like in terms of your perspective on this. So anybody like to begin? Susan?
I just want to explain my vote. I know it doesn't change the recommendation of the select board, which I'm fully aware of, but down the road, I really didn't feel as if this deserved a unanimous vote because of the,
Okay, he's just.
because of, you know,
Mr.
the
Tarpey, Ms. Tarpey, please mute. Thank you. Sorry, Susan.
I just, I wanted to explain my vote by saying that I know it doesn't change what the select board is recommending, but I didn't feel as if down the road I wanted this to be seen as a unanimously approved vote, given what we've talked about for the last, since February. And the fact that it was split in the select board, it's split in the finance committee, and the league was very close and they're split too. So that kind of says to me we should have done more work on this to be able to come closer to a consensus. So I just don't want the record to reflect a unanimous decision.
Well, we have not voted on it yet, so your vote had nothing to do with our recommendation.
Oh, it didn't?
The vote no to reconsider. Article
It's
6.
for the wording. Oh, can we do it, have a do-over? I mean, I think the wording is fine.
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay,
It's still passed, so we can still discuss it.
okay.
Other comments? I'll comment on what Susan said. My vote on this has got nothing to do with what the finance committee, how the finance committee voted or how the league voted, but only had to do with what, in my view, and same with any of the rest of you, we believe is in the best interest of the town. If the vote is unanimous, the vote is unanimous. If the vote's not unanimous, the vote's not unanimous. That's just the way it is.
Mike, point of order for a moment. The league has not taken a vote on this article. The town government committee discussed it and made a recommendation, but the league has made has not taken a position. We've been waiting to hear the select board and FinCom's discourse and then to make a decision before town meeting. Sorry to interrupt. I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to be clear.
That's all right. It's also the case that the finance committee is going to review their recommendation on this article at their meeting. I think it's next Thursday. I'm not positive. I did get a note from Ms. LaFleur, but Jane, Terry?
I just wanted to reiterate my position on why I have supported the TIF and I continue to support the TIF. It has less to do with the TIF itself and more to do with the fact that this project will have a long-standing benefits, not just to Concord, as we know, but to a lot of people in a difficult stage of life, who most of who will not have the means to cover that. And also it will have the benefit of solving a currently exposed place for us on our low-income housing numbers, which doesn't take us away from our responsibilities to find, to develop, and to place low-income housing throughout Concord. But it does take the threat away, which when, you know, if we were in a 40B and, you know, our options change dramatically. And I am aware that if the concern is from some who oppose the TIF is that it is a expenditure of town resources, keeping in mind that this is just simply an avoidance of future of taxes that currently aren't even paid. The impact on the finances of Concord of the potential for, let's say, having to build a new elementary school because we have a significant portion of or a significant influx of students. That's a much larger swallow. So I do think it's in the town of Concord's best interest.
You, Terry?
Well, yes, I certainly voting to reconsider the article because I think that the developer has moved somewhat and heard from the town and compromised here. Not entirely down to, you know, ideal, but I think the number of dollars saved was not my bottom line, but having language in there now that the town has supported the capital project. The town is now going to support the operations, and that will be the end of the town support. And having town council insert that language into the TIF, I am comfortable with it.
Thank you. And my position, I've been a supporter of this. Well, first let me turn to Linda. Mr. Hand.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I have acknowledged on several occasions in different forums, as well as this one, that this process has been long, difficult, and also has had some problems along the way. As we've encountered those, there has been full airing in the public. We've tried to take steps to clarify where we were and have better outcomes in terms of the where we ended up, including where we ended up on this TIF. As someone who's been involved in affordable housing issues for a long time, the path is often very complicated and rocky. And while we wish it would have gone a little more smoothly, I think in the whole scheme of things, major pieces have come together. Like some of the rest of you, I think it's very important in terms of what's best for the town at this point. And I do think that I underscore both that there is a need that is must be met for our senior population. And I also feel strongly that we do have a commitment to look at affordable housing, additional affordable housing at locations across our town and in different forms, not necessarily just aimed at the senior population. So for all of the combined reasons, I'm prepared to support this.
Thank you. I've been a supporter of it all along, as most of you know, and a supporter of other initiatives that the town has undertaken. Affordable housing is very complicated. And I, along with Linda, I've been involved in, you know, putting this together, the original MOU and the TIF and the new MOU. And I must confess, a lot, every time you think you've got something squared away, all of a sudden, whack, something new comes up that maybe you should have thought about, but you didn't, or and the like. But the town has done a lot over the last few years to really change our approach to affordable housing with this project, with the allocations of free cash last year and hopefully this year, with the proposal to have a property transfer tax and a building surcharge, so that we are really poised to go forward, I think, to really make a substantial and fundamental change in the way this town deals with the issue of affordability and affordable housing. And this is simply one part of that. If this was all we were doing, I think we should all be disappointed in ourselves. But I think the other initiatives coupled with this one, if we can get these two bills before the legislature approved in one form that would create a sustainable fund of money that we could use then to provide, my hope anyway, is individual family units that are just scattered throughout the town and are indistinguishable from their neighbors' houses. I think we would have done a great job in transforming Concord's approach to affordable housing. So I continue to be this project. So do any other board members have any other comments? I'm not going to take comments from the public on this public comments at the end of the session. I'm happy to hear from you or anybody else, but this is a board decision. And I think we've had 2 public hearings on this and any number of select board meetings where we've heard from a variety of people about their positions on it.
Mr. Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lawson, not to correct you, sir, but you did allow a comment from Diane Proctor, who is not a member of the board. And I just wanted to clarify.
Identify yourself, please.
I'm sorry, Dory Keogh, 51 MacArthur Road in Concord.
Proctor had a simple point of order.
Well, I would like to correct her point of order then, if I may. She announced that the league had not taken any position, and she's quite correct. But the Affordable Housing Committee of the league did vote on this and with great regret is not able to support the project. I would like to have that. The board has not yet voted. That is true. But the Affordable Housing Committee has considered it and did not come to any support for the project.
Thank you. Is there any further comments from the board? Seeing none, I think we're ready for a vote. And I see everybody but myself on the board is muted. So with caution to please unmute yourself. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Move affirmative action.
Oh, yep, that would be good.
Move it affirmative action on Article 16.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk now please call the roll?
Okay. Mr. Lawson.
Aye.
Ms. Ackerman.
Aye.
Ms. Bates.
No.
Ms. Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Myself, Ms. Escobedo. Aye.
Very much. I note that it passes by a vote of 4-1. Very much.
Mike, can I make one more brief comment, if I may? So going forward, if the town meeting should adopt Article 16, I just would like to request a regular update by the town manager as we go through the next steps. In particular, anytime there's a document being signed, such as the ground lease, even though it's the CHDC signing the ground lease, I think it would be very important to have the select board and town council review all the important documents going forward.
Corresponded with Mr. Smith. I don't see him on the call, but although let me see because there's another screen. So
I'm here, Mike.
Yes. I corresponded with Mr. Smith asking him essentially the question of the status of the ground lease. So Lee, perhaps you could identify yourself and comment on that.
Lee Smith, 1836 Main Street, co-chair of the CHDC. Through you, Mr. Chair, the ground lease is in draft form. We received an initial draft from the developer. We provided some initial comments. It needs some substantial additional work, also informed by the direction that this process has taken. That the initial draft provided for a pilot, but here we are. So I'm hoping to get the assistance of town council as we work through that.
Yes, and at the last point, Mr. Smith, he had indicated that when they get to that this will be reviewed and sent to town council for their assistance in drafting this ground lease. So I thought that was important. Mr. Macarios.
Just, Mike, to clarify, we have in the past also reviewed the development agreement, worked with CHDC to provide any comments on that. And one thing that just to bear in mind is that the town's enforcement rights between the TIF and the funding it's provided are already there. So to the extent, the only thing left for us to look at the lease would be to make sure that it's not directly contrary to those, and I wouldn't expect CHDC to allow that either. So I think I feel confident that we can do that, and we'll provide whatever assistance the board and town manager request.
Thank you very much. Terry.
Thank you for that, Mina and Lee. So I'm glad to know that you're working on it and town council will be reviewing. And I'm just asking Stephen to keep us apprised as we go along, so the board is kept up to date and can see the documents. Thank you.
Sure, will do.
I on behalf of CHDC, I can commit to keeping the town manager informed as well.
Thank you very much.
You'll recall, Terry, that the Article 16 has 3 sort of paragraphs associated with it. And the last paragraph is the one that authorizes it. And it's the select board that has to execute the TIF. So anything further, if this passes a town meeting, will come back to the select board and they'll be the ones that have to actually sign and execute the TIF. Any additional comments? So the last thing I would say then is you'll recall that the select board provided written comments on many of the warrant articles, including Article 16. And what I will do now is simply provide a new copy to the town that reflects the change in the vote. And I will ask Susan, because you're the minority vote here, if you still want the minority position that was submitted, could continue to be submitted for the.
No, no, at a 3 to 2, I think it was important, but 4 to 1, unless.
I will change the vote to 4 to 1 in affirmative action for Article 16 and delete the minority statement. All right, thank you very much. Are there any now? We are ready. I don't know if we still have, oh yes, we do. Ready for public comments. So if there are any public comments, just kind of wave something so I can see you. I've got a screen full of folks. See, let me go to the second screen. I don't. Is there anyone who wants to speak? Just start speaking. All right, seeing none, then I would understand.
Hey, Mike, I'm sorry, it's Stephen. We discovered today, unfortunately, that the tables in some of the tables in the Finance Committee report reflected pre-changes to the budget. The stuff that was presented in the public hearings is accurate, but the things from the FinCom report didn't get swapped out. So I just want everybody, if they're reviewing the report, just to be mindful of that.
All right.
Could I just clarify that? I'm sorry, it's Carrie LaFleur.
Sure, please go ahead.
Carrie LaFleur, Chief Financial Officer. It's the issue is in the table that is presented under Article 10 and 11 in the warrant, and not in the Finance Committee report itself.
Okay.
So when we, the document that is being printed today that has the motions will have the table within the motion. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And I guess for the record, what I should say, the town moderator has been working very closely with town council to put together essentially the set of motions that are going to be going in. I know there are many exchanges today. For Article 16, just to be clear, the first paragraph in the warrant, it was slightly rewritten to reflect the new TIF. And for Article 16, the entire warrant article as printed in the warrant, plus the entire TIF, are going to be included in the materials distributed to town meeting, in addition to whatever comments people or boards have done, so that everybody will have the very latest and current versions of that before then. Carrie, I had mentioned that the Finance Committee was going to take a look at Article 16 again, but is it later tonight or is it next Thursday? I'm sorry not to have remembered. She must have stepped away. All right.
This is Mary. This is Mary Hartman.
Oh, hi, Mary.
Hi. I can tell you it's next Thursday.
Okay. All right. So next Thursday.
Yes.
All right. So that's the 10th. All right. Thank you. Susan?
I just wondered about the Finance Committee report. That's, I assume, already gone to print. I can't remember. I knew the deadline was before. I thought it was before now, but do you know what the stuff?
Gone, isn't it, Carrie?
The Finance Committee report has gone to the printer and it should be in the mail, I think, this weekend. And so the correction we made is to the town meeting pamphlet, which is a new document that's being prepared this year to help facilitate town meetings. So it will have all of the motions printed in it. And so we needed to print the table for Article 10, the town budget, and the table for Article 11, the CIP plan, in that document, in the motion.
And am I correct in remembering or knowing that there may be an additional amendment offered to either Article 10 or 11? Am I?
There is an additional amendment to Article 11.
Article 11. All right. And so that I will want to get on our agenda for our meeting on the 8th. And I hope the Finance Committee will, at that meeting on Thursday, also consider this amendment so we don't have to waste time trying to get an opinion of the Finance Committee or the Select Board while we're, out on Doug White Field dodging mosquitoes or whatever what's out there. All right. Is there any other comments or questions? Terry.
I have a very quick question for Linda. Linda, you want us to submit to you that form by the 8th. And my question is, do you want it to be handwritten or typed, or you don't care?
Either way is fine.
Thank you.
Yep. And recall it was Dropbox or mail.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you.
To the townhouse, right? To you, care of the townhouse?
To Jeremy,
Jeremy.
in an
Right.
envelope, a sealed envelope marked confidential.
So he's going to
Okay.
compile it for you correctly. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Any more comments or questions? All right. Well, I greatly appreciate everybody attending and all of your patience as we worked our way through this process. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lawson,
Aye.
Ms. Ackerman,
Aye.
Ms. Bates,
Aye.
Ms. Hotchkiss,
Aye.
myself, Ms. Escobedo, aye.
Thank you. I know it passes unanimously. I appreciate you all attending. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye. Stay well.